not sure that I remember seeing like on paper like a bigger turnaround in the UFC in a long time than sort of the one that you've had. Because you lost 3 of the first 4, right?
Yep, 1 and 3, yeah.
The one that you won, you didn't make weight.
Yep.
And then you rattle off 7 of your next 8, and the only loss is a split decision.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
The tear is really impressive on paper when you look at it.
No, I mean, I was kind of thinking about it too, that I don't feel like anyone's done that. I feel like I've been at the lowest of lows and the highest of highs all in the UFC cage. It's all in the octagon. So everything's been laid out. My whole career pretty much has been inside the octagon. I've had 12 fights, going on my 13th fight. A very quiet, I feel like, 12 UFC fights. But starting 1 and 3 it's a hard way to climb out of, man. It's to climb out because you gotta. That's why I kind of made a post recently about it's almost better to lose on the regional scene than when you get in the UFC, because I feel like it's the same as going from amateur to pro, where your record's kind of cut clean, is the same when you go from the amateur scene to the UFC, where everyone sees those first fights in the UFC, and you start 1 and 3, everyone starts thinking, okay, this guy doesn't have it. Most people are cut after 1 and 3. I'm a survivor, man. I just kept finding ways to stay in, and then I just knew that eventually it's all going to click.
Your answer is supposed to be no, I would never think that. But was there ever a time when you were 1 and 3 when you're going, maybe I'm not meant to be at this level, or maybe I'm not meant to be at this level right now?
I did think right at that point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm a little outmatched just skill-wise. So I was like, I need to start focusing on myself, just all my skill set. But I knew that I had what it took. And I just felt like I was thrown to the wolves a little bit. I didn't feel like some of these young guys, I came in the UFC with 3 years of training. I was just like, at that moment, I was like, hey, I need to be kind of brought up slowly. Like, some of these guys are fed, these easy fights. And I felt like right away I'm getting thrown in there with Rashid and then Benil and then, all these other world-class grapplers. And I'm like, kind of just not the greatest matchups. So I felt like I didn't get any favors. But I knew I belonged. I did fully believe in my abilities and my skill set, and now here we are.
The sort of the moving up the ladder at an appropriate pace has seemed to happen now that you're at welterweight. I mean, the level of opponent has gone up appropriately. But would you say that maybe the Demian is a bigger step than you expected?
I mean, I just didn't expect the UFC to give me a top 12 guy. I didn't think that I would get a legend of the sport as well, because you never, usually I've seen him talk a little bit about he's got 2 fights left on his contract. He might sail off in the sunset right after that, depending on how these fights go. So you hear that and you're like, oh, this guy's just looking for a paycheck. He's looking for maybe an easy matchups. And so when they sent me that name, I was shocked, and I obviously jumped on it right away.
You said just a second ago that you feel like this 7-1 run you've been on over the past couple of years has been rather quiet. Do you feel like this Saturday is when the volume goes up a bit?
Oh yeah, this is the coming out party. This is this is the make or break for me. This is the fight that I'm out there on that real title contention path, or I'm on my way out. I truly believe that. I think that if I can't beat Demian Maia, I don't think I could face those top wrestlers, in the sport. So if I can't stop Demian Maia's takedowns, I don't see how I can stop the other guys' takedowns. So I need to, put the game in. Everything's in on this fight. I'm all in.
So even if you do fall short, and of course you're not thinking about that, but you just said it's kind of make or break. So you don't think that if you do lose to Maia on Saturday, you won't be able to bounce back and improve?
No, I mean, I always think I can improve. I'm gonna keep going, until I feel like for sure the dream is over of being UFC champion. But the second the dream is over, I'm done. I'm not gonna fight for a paycheck. I'm fighting to be the world champion. That's it.
Seems like a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
I mean, everything's already on. All the pressure's already on there. It's all my financials are in one spot. I've dedicated my whole life to this, so it's like everything, every single fight is on the line. So it's like more pressure doesn't mean anything, because it's already all on the line. I'll put every dollar in my bank account on the line as well, because it's just, to me, I truly believe in my abilities, and I truly believe that I can do what my goals are. It takes, and I'm willing to put it all on the line every single time.
As a teammate of his and as a fellow welterweight, what do you think of Colby not getting Usman next and fighting Robbie Lawler instead?
Yeah, man, I don't know. It just seems it's just a strange setup that they have going on with the UFC and the Colby stuff, I don't know. No one knows what's going on, right? You hear one thing, then something happens the second, then all of a sudden I ask Colby, hey, what, you fighting for the title next? He's like, yeah, it's inevitable. Then next day he's fighting Robbie Lawler. So really, nobody knows what's going on. But I think that Usman took a little bit of his steam with, I think Colby would have done the same exact thing to Woodley. I think it would have been the same exact fight, and then they would have, Colby versus Usman next would have been even bigger, and they kind of flip-flopped that on him, and it kind of hurt his momentum in a little bit. And how long can you sit on the shelf? You sit on the shelf any longer, boom, you have these other fights coming up, someone else falls in, now you're forced to fight, but you've sat on the shelf for 18 months. So, I mean, he definitely needs to fight.
Seeing Brock Larson in your corner at the workouts made me kind of wonder, like, what's it like to, what does it give you to have a coach who's been there himself, had a bunch of experience, and can really kind of help you with a lot of those aspects? Like, what does that bring for you? Yeah,
I started with Brock. The first gym I ever walked into, Brock was my coach, and I just got extremely lucky. That's just, he's one of the best martial artists in Minnesota, and he's a legend of the sport, and he's been at the highest of highs as well. And so he's been a huge help to me, where he just kind of lets me do my thing. He doesn't push me to do anything crazy, and doesn't, lets me live in my moment. And he's not a guy he's so unselfish that it's kind of just rubs off on you to just be true to yourself and not try to put on a persona that isn't true to you.
Did you know that that's who he was when you went into did you seek him out, or did you just kind of show up in there?
Well, I was just training in I was playing football around St. Cloud area, and then someone just said he was training there. And at the time I was kind of looking for gyms, and nothing popped up on Google or anything. Then one of my teammates said, hey, I'm training with this guy, Brock Larson. I looked him up. He just got cut from the UFC at the time. So I'm like, I'm going to go on and smash this guy really quick, make my, see where I'm really at. Because at this time I'm watching GSP. I'm thinking, I can get in there and, take out GSP right now. One of those guys that never train a day in their life. How stupid these guys are sometimes. And I was one of those guys. So I went in there, and then I got beat up by, these little 125 pounders and stuff like that. And I was like, that's it. I was addicted right after that.
So what you're saying, really, the takeaway here is that Brock needs to do better search engine optimization for his gyms?
Yeah, I mean, now we started a school together in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Start BJJ. So we, we're on Google now, so if you Google it, it's going to be on there, and it's a lot easier access to get Brock Larson involved.